Hello everybody, thank you for joining me today. So today is our first video for our October series of Friday Sketch, and we're going to be using this Viva la Verve. Now if this is your first time here, please consider hitting the subscribe button and the notification bell so that way you're alerted whenever I upload new content. If you want, you can pause here, get an idea of the sketch, and then come meet me at the table. I am going to be changing it up a little bit. And for our series for this month, we're going to be using this, I think it's Carbella. It's the 70s paper. I used the 12 by 12 for a layout, and when I saw that Michelle had the 6 by 6 paper pad, I was like, yeah, I definitely want to get this, and it just fits. It's got those nice fall colors, and yet it's not a traditional fall paper collection, and I think they're going to be fun for this series. So I'm just going through real quick, showing you the different pattern papers. This one you could potentially cut up and use part of those sayings on the side. I love this paper. I'm sorry. I got distracted. It's one of my favorites. And then the ones here with the cassette tapes. That's cute. I love the background on that one. Trying to get it up close so you can see that pattern. Hopefully it'll focus here. And then these little squares, I don't wind up using them. I think in the series I use that backside because that pattern is pretty too. And then you have the print there. Some more flowers, that funky pattern, love it. And we're going to use this paper and this one on today's cards. But this one I'm using the cut aparts. So I've already got some of my, scraps left over. And those are the card pieces. I decided to do a square, obviously card, because of what we're looking at. I made it 5.5 by 5.5, my card base, because if you cut your 8.5 by 11 at 5.5 and then fold on the 5.5 inch score line, you make a perfect square, right? So then all of my pieces after that are 1/8 of an inch smaller. So it would be 5 3/8 for the mat, and then the pattern paper, I did 5 1/4 by 5 1/4. And then we cut up the larger squares that are in the cut aparts here, which I'm showing you me cutting them out. Normally I would have already had them done, but I realized that sometimes with our sketch series, sometimes you might want to see a little bit more of the process, maybe not all the time, but every once in a while. And since it's just cutting up these 4 squares, I figured you guys could handle that with me today. So I'm just trimming these out to make them around the same size. So that way I can attach them, because I'm going to have another mat piece that I'm going to put these 4 pieces on to create our 4 squares. So you could do the 4 larger pieces and use like pattern paper and have it spaced out exactly the way you see on the sketch. What I liked was the squares, and then instead of a large piece in the center, the large center square, I'm actually going to use that flower punched out white circle. We're going to stamp on it, and that's going to sit in the center of our card, and it's going to be perfect. Okay, so this is how I figured out on the first card I did how I wanted this all to lay. So I just take each of the squares, put a little bit of glue on the back, just a little, and then I evenly space my left side and the bottom of this square, right? And then my pieces, as I add them on, I'm going to use that for my guide. And then I'm just figuring out which piece is going to go where. And instead of having to worry about, am I putting enough space between, I'm butting them up right up against each other. And then we're going to do the same thing with the others. And I'm just putting it right on top of the scrap, like a scrap piece of the matte paper that I used on the square portion. And then we're just going to cut out on the other two sides and we'll have a perfect square. And there's, of course, not using so much glue, there's a little bit that squeezes out. It happens. Thankfully, the art glitter glue does dry clear, so I'm not overly stressed about it. Now, what I'm trying to do here is use the metal strip that goes through the center on this particular cutter, and to get it lined up enough that I have the same amount of green peeking out on all four sides. So let's put the base together. I laid it out, but I didn't glue it down. So let's glue that down. And this particular paper on the back side, it has the radios, which is super cute, but I didn't like those. I like the other pattern way better, so that's why I'm using that. And I did cut up both pieces to do the two cards, so yeah, there's not much of that pattern left. And for those of you who may be joining me for the first time, I do use the tape runner and wet glue on my cards because the wet glue gives me just a few seconds to be able to put something down, pull it back up if I put it on crooked. And sometimes, you know, there's more crooked days than others, and that little bit of time helps a lot. So now I'm putting a piece of matte paper on the inside of my card base because it is orange colored cardstock, and you could write on there, but if you want to give your card a little bit of weight, since you're putting so much on the front, then I would just add a piece of paper on the inside, and that'll help give it a little bit of balance. All right, so now we're going to evenly put our 4 squares. And you could have matted this, or not matte, you could have put foam squares or foam underneath it to give it a little bit of height. With it being a square card, I don't want to add any more like postage or anything like that to it. So that's why I just left it flat. Then I'm going to stamp my greeting with a little B right up above it. And this, I'm going to put foam on the back. I'm just going to put some 4 pieces, take the backing off, add a little bit of glue, and that'll allow me time to be able to put it down. If you ever see anybody do that, that's why they're doing that. The wet glue just gives us a few seconds, right? Because if I put it down and it's not straight, some foam squares, that's it. It's over. It's a wrap, and you can mess up your paper trying to pull it back off. So there's the first one I did, and then the one that we have on camera. And now to finish it off, I'm going to put some gems. And I have the Pink Fresh Studios. Yeah. Pink Fresh Studio gems. And these are green. I want to say which ones. I got them right here, so let me grab them. These are Emerald City. And we're going to just put 3. They got 3 different sizes, so I went for the large, medium, and small. I'm just putting a little dab of glue. And on the left side, since the card was at the bottom left, I'm going to put the gems there. And on the other card, it's on the bottom right, and I'm going to add them on the far right there. I just think it works out really well. And there it is. Now, you could also add other gems. You could add sequins. You could do whatever embellishments you want to do. In this series, I am going to probably be using more of the gems or pearls, things that I got, because I've been getting a lot of them lately and I need to start using them. So here we are with some close-ups. I want to say again, thank you guys for being loyal watchers of this series. Definitely leave comments down below. If you haven't subscribed, please feel free to. It is free. It really is. And I appreciate you all being a part of this community. So make sure you have a safe and wonderful weekend. And I will catch you guys with our next video.